Unravel which government within the Fourth Republic has contributed more to social protection, gender and social inclusion. In the studio with me is a former gender minister, human rights advocate, lawyer, member of the NDC's communications team, secretary to the NDC's 2020 Manifesto Committee, and a sectorial spokesperson on gender. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Say you should do. You should wash your...
John Mahama is traveling around the country inviting Ghanaians from all backgrounds and walks of life to speak out about the issues that matter to them most. At the first session in the Western North region, hundreds of people registered. This was the first Speak Out ever to be held in Ghana. People spoke out about their daily hardships, about corruption and cronyism. People spoke out about education, about our national health insurance and support for the disabled. But mostly, they spoke out about unemployment and the urgent need to create jobs, especially for our youth. They contributed openly and freely with many ideas and suggestions. They debated and shared their views and made many practical suggestions. John Mahama listened and learned. The NDC leadership listened and learned. The NDC will now review the flood of suggestions and ideas which were written down and posted up on the walls around us. The best of these ideas will be included in the NDC's policies and plans to put Ghana back on the road to prosperity and unity. You too can speak out by posting a comment or a video clip on any of John Mahama's social accounts or at www.speakoutghana.com. John Mahama is listening.
I'm here in the Upper East region, capital Bolgatanga, and I'm coming here to listen and to learn.
We are very, very happy to hear that our former president wants to come and meet us, sit with us, and then hear what our problems are.
We need climate-tolerant seed varieties.
Proper dams for our farmers to do dry season farming, not dark house.
You can see that the issues that are bubbling up are common. If you look at the other two regions, the issues of agriculture. This is also a basically agricultural region. So there are issues of access to fertilizer, access to mechanized services, access to agro-processing and stuff like that.
We are very glad because we'll be able to meet with the president. He asked us, he wanted to know the problems we are facing, and I think we've discussed that, and we are very happy.
It's been a wonderful day, tiring day, but I think it's been worth it. And I really appreciate the people of the Upper East region, and I thank them for speaking out.
Hi, I'm John Mahama. I traveled to the Western North region not to talk or make promises, but to encourage people to speak out, to allow them to share their thoughts and feelings about the many issues that affect them, and of course, to listen to them. This Speak Out session was not about me or the NDC. It was about the people of the Western North, about their thoughts and feelings, about their future and the future of their children, their families, and all their loved ones. I witnessed people from different backgrounds listening to each other. I saw people become energized and motivated about the future. I heard people expressing original ideas of their own. And together, we envisaged a better future and a better life for all Ghanaians.
The Ghanaians spoke out. President Mahama and the NDC listened. They came out with a mustard stroke, and that was the People's Manifesto. The secretary to that committee that went round, listened, has joined us live in the studio. She's a former gender minister. Nanoye, it's good to see you this evening.
Good to see you, Obuobia.
You're looking very good.
You too, beautiful.
And how have you been?
Great.
Putting together the People's Manifesto.
Yeah,
it's been the talk of town since it was launched.
Yes.
And that conversation hasn't ended up till now.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
Very great, but very humbled
And what amazed me was the teamwork. You will not believe it, but our flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, read every single letter and commented and gave his ideas. And there was an amazing collaboration amongst the 21 manifesto committee membership, and then the various committees. We had about 15 or so thematic areas. Then we have the office of the flag bearer, also providing immense support, and then our national machinery, the national headquarters, led by our national chairman. And it was amazing teamwork. And of course, the most important, the voices of the people. People were very eager. Lab technicians, car mechanics, trotro drivers, persons with disabilities. You had even the regional executives of our great party, NDC. Each region produced a regional manifesto. And they also used the same model of engaging with the people to find out exactly what the issues were in the region. And they submitted a document. And the icing on the cake was the speak out that John Dramani Mahama, our flag bearer, together with the manifesto committee and the national executives of the NDC, pulled. And there we got a lot. You know, I remember we were always waiting 10 p.m., 11 p.m. just to get the daily report and information. Then COVID came and it had to be truncated. But we had so much in terms, even what had happened in the regions, we had so much information. And so it was teamwork. Yeah, but one will sit back and wonder, how did you guys come by that decision? It's never happened in the history of this country for so much consultation to go on before a manifesto of a political party is put out. So how did you conceive that idea, and why did you think that it was important to go to the grassroots to listen to them?
There was a lot of discussion at the national level of the NDC on what you wanted to see. And even before that, we had had a lot of discussion, a lot of debate about our program. And so it was not too difficult. When you look at the terms of reference, when we were sworn in, it was very clear that our party, being a social democratic party, wanted the process of making a manifesto to be relevant, very relevant for the people of Ghana, and then also for the people of Ghana to participate, for us to come up with a living document that would speak to the issues, a document that would address the pressing needs of the people of Ghana. And who best to articulate what the issues are but the people of Ghana? So it was very clear from the beginning. And you remember there was a whole lot of talk and debate, and some were even, the MPP were like, oh, what is this? You don't have any, you are bereft of ideas, and that's why you're going back to the people. But no, we are a social democratic party. We are human, people-oriented, and we really wanted to come up with a blueprint for January 2021, for the next 4 years, that would work for Ghana. So it's a manifesto fit for the people of Ghana, a manifesto that will enable us, NDC and government, realize the hopes and aspirations and create equal opportunities for the people of Ghana. This is what we all set up to do.
Looking back 20 plus days after the manifesto was launched, how do you feel? Was it worth the stress you went through? I know you had sleepless nights. Sometimes you break down. Sometimes you just simply don't know what to do. But was it worth the pressure? Was it worth the consultations? Was it worth everything that you put, the 21 of you put into bringing this beautiful piece out?
Yes, I remember one of our members, Michael and Prosper, and you know, like they are really the unsung heroes. And they sent a WhatsApp message. The manifesto has been downloaded 3 million times. That was when,
and that was the what?
Yeah, and that was like within a week or two.
Amazing.
And it hits me. I'm like, whoa. Wow. And we cast our mind back, the committee went like on the Monday, and there's this thing about like typos and all that, and we were just combing through to make sure that there was no typos and everything. So when it hit us, 3 million downloads, we're like, whoa, this is NDC. NDC got it right. And from that time until now, it's still being extensively discussed. I mean, you don't even hear of NPP. It's the talk of town. And even yesterday, I met a team, and they were going on, and everybody has read it, and they're looking at how it relates to them. And even this afternoon, somebody was asking for an electronic copy. Like every 2 or 3 days, you're getting requests for electronic copies. The most important thing is how it just resonates with the people of Ghana. Like people will tell you, oh yeah, I see myself in the People's Manifesto. It's talking about lab technicians. I can see exactly what NDC plans to do. I can see what NDC plans to do for students. I can see what NDC plans to do for health, primary health care. I can see what NDC plans to do for me, a small business. We're having a meeting yesterday evening, and they were like, Honorable, look at this. Small businesses, so we're not going to pay tax, and even medium businesses to 25%. I mean, so all the salons, hairdressing salons, and all the barber shops and all that, do they qualify as small businesses? So we wouldn't be paying tax. Oh, this is amazing. And this is the beauty, that we really sought the views of Ghanaians across the country, and the NDC, led by our flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, were able to deliver a document that spoke to the people of Ghana.
Very well. Since you are from the gender ministry, and then we also want to talk about social protection, first of all, let me ask you, what is in this manifesto for the Ghanaian woman?
Key for the Ghanaian woman, in terms of political, the top priority is creating that equal opportunity for the Ghanaian woman to participate in political life and political activities.
Okay.
Affirmative action. It was the NDC under President John Evans Atta Mills who came up with affirmative action. And then we had President John Dramani Mahama coming up with an affirmative action bill. President John Dramani Mahama sending an affirmative action bill to Parliament, which would allow for a minimum 30-40%. So for every sector in Ghana, be it the army, be it the judiciary, be it Parliament, John Dramani Mahama said women would constitute 1/3 of the composition of the judiciary and what have you. So for political participation, yes. You look at agriculture, we've made provision for the peasant, the female crop farmer, the female peasant farmer, supporting. That is in accordance with the Women's Manifesto. In Ghana, civil society, gender civil society groups have come up with the Women's Manifesto. So we looked at it and incorporated, especially agriculture and the women, because a lot of our women across the rural area are engaged in agriculture. Then we're also looking at the well-being of women. Women being nurturers, women being mothers. Maternity leave, 4 months, we are extending. And talking about maternity leave, we're also looking at 7 days paternity leave. We're also looking at daycare centers. In our discussions in the Speak Out, President John Dramani Mahama and the other deliberations, even for the regional manifestos, what came up was that the working mother was having huge challenges with taking care of her baby and her children. So then, in this manifesto, we have promised one policy proposal is to build and create daycare centers near working places like the ministries, in markets, and across the regions. We also are looking at vulnerable women. For the Kayayes and the young women who have dropped out of school, so looking at the National Apprenticeship program. So you want to be a hairdresser, you want to be a mason, you want to be a steel bender, the NDC government from January 2021 will support you in paying the apprenticeship fees, in ensuring that there are guidelines, and also in giving you a monthly allowance to enable you get the job, and even certification. And that is linked with the TVET, the Technical Vocational Education, where we're going to make free, and then even from the SHS to the tertiary level. Sometimes when we have the Technical Vocational Education, you don't see a graduation, like, okay, you're a hairdresser and then that is it. So we're going to ensure a graduation. Women's mental health is being a big issue, emotional abuse and what have you. So we are revamping issues related to gender-based violence. The first is to scale up our domestic violence and victim support units of the police. It was the NDC government in 1998 under IGP Peter Namfuri, we set up WAJU. And it has, we've improved it, and now there's a need to create a directorate and let it be headed by a commissioner, director general, so that we enhance the role. We are also going to equip and resource the domestic violence and victim support unit and focus on providing mental health care for survivors of gender-based violence, not only women, but also men and young boys and girls. So, and we're also going to look at the witch camps, the cultural and dehumanizing practices, harmful traditional practices. It was also the NDC that first addressed that. And in 2015, in December, the NDC government closed down a witch camp. If you go to Gambaga, the former First Lady also set up a vocational school for the witch camps, and we also provided humanitarian support, national health insurance, and also LEAP. And so when you look at our manifesto, the People's Manifesto, you find out that we say we are going to address the witch camps, and we're also going to address mental health care and provide more resources for the Victim Support Fund under the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection.
So so far as all the categories of women in this country are concerned, everybody has a stake in this manifesto.
Yes.
So you have something for the youth, the middle class, and the older. Yes. I wanted us to deliberate on the LEAP program. Yes. How is it captured in this manifesto?
Different categories. We will be expanding the LEAP. We met about 70,000 households. We increased it to 213,000 households. That translates into about 1.2 million people. So we are going to expand LEAP. Then we are going to create a coastal livelihood empowerment scheme. If you go right from Aflao all the way down to Elubu, you find out that the poverty levels have increased because of the degradation of the sea and because of climate change and all that is happening. We have our artisanal fishermen and our fisher women who process, who smoke the fish and sell. The fish stock is not much. So we are going to strengthen that. Even with the fishery sector, we are looking at strengthening and modernizing. You didn't see a whole detail in the manifesto, but we are even looking at the wooden boats, how we can get maybe fiberglass and even providing GPS direction, helping the fisher folks so that they can locate the breeding grounds or where they can get the fish. And then, and that coastal empowerment scheme would also help to increase resources and also provide livelihood for the coastal. Then we had COVID. When we had COVID, we saw the mess. NPP, they couldn't target. The poor and vulnerable couldn't get the food. They provided cooked food. They couldn't distribute. People were crying and what have you.
Would you have done it differently if you were still in that ministry?
We had emergencies during President John Dramani Mahama.
Can you give me some examples?
We had Ebola. We had the June 5 disaster. on June 5 in 2015, and it affected, not apart from the fire, there was heavy rainfall, affected parts of Keta, the Keta district in Volta region, affected Asawasi area in Ashanti region, affected even parts of Adenta, affected La, affected Osu, the lagoon, the Osu Castle area, and the middle of Osu near Papaye. It also affected some parts of the central region, and also Ashaman. There were floods.
And you think you did a better job with that?
We did a good job. We provided them with national health insurance because the floods took away their cards. We were looking at, and even Begbeise in Dansuma. We gave them some food, dry portions. We also gave them mattresses and what have you. And then we also gave them emergency leave. So for 3 months and more, they were placed on leave. So they also got some money that they were able to use. And they were fine, they were happy. So this was what we were able to target them. We used the district assembly members, we used the municipal and district assemblies, and also the social welfare district officers, and some of the community units committee members. And it went perfect.
Very well. You did a fantastic job.
Sorry, please let me also speak about young women in business.
Okay.
We're going to create a chamber. You have a lot of young women in business. I met some late last year. People are they're using shea butter. They're creating a lot of products. Just a few weeks ago, a young lady introduced a service. She says, "Mom, I can do your marketing for you for a small fee." So we are creating a chamber for women entrepreneurs, just to help them come together. And of course, we're going to continue with Maslock to get to give women funding. So there's a lot for every demographic group, especially different segments of women.
You did a fantastic job at the Gender Ministry during your tenure. During your tenure, social protection was elevated to cabinet status. Yes. Social protection was made a department. Yes. You created the Ghana National Household Registry to target and collect the social economic profile of the poorest of the poor. And LEAP was expanded, and then it went to electronic so far as the payments are concerned. And then the expansion of school feeding and many others. Tell us about the NDC's significant achievements in gender and social protection so far as your tenure in that ministry was concerned.
You know, I would say it was President John Dramani Mahama. So he told me that, well, you're going to be in charge of social protection. And his idea was that there were so many programs running under government funding, and his idea was to ensure that the government, the NDC government, got to the poorest of the poor and the vulnerable. That he wanted to make sure that whatever resources, whatever financial resources, whatever assistance, capitation, grant, free the shoes, free textbooks, free national health insurance, the LEAP, school feeding, and all the other programs got to those who actually need it. So at the beginning, our work was mapped out for us. So President John Dramani Mahama created a social protection system. It was his idea, cabinet, and then we had the directorate, and we had a governance system from national, regional, district, and unit. The first thing was that we had only 1 in 10, there was a UNICEF report, only 1 in 10 persons were poor people who were surviving on under $1 a day were benefiting from social protection schemes. So the first task was that we need to be able to target and get the 10 of the 10 benefiting. Otherwise, there'll be a poverty cycle.
Yeah.
So we created a household registry. He actually sent the foreign minister, Hannah Tete, and I to Brazil to understudy the social protection system right in his first year. And so by 2014-15, we had set up the system, and we were able to use the proxy means and the household registry to determine who should benefit. And that was how we were able to expand from 70,000 households to 213,000 households. Now, they were being given, for the leave, they were being given the money by cash. And sometimes people, those who were given were not giving it to the beneficiaries. We listened to the beneficiaries, and we now gave them, we loaded the money on the plastic card. That was, I've forgotten the name, I remember, e-switch, the e-switch. So now we were working and partnering with another government, the financial institution, and we were even promoting financial inclusion and even saving by the poorest of the poor, that they wouldn't have to spend all their money. They could go and take out their money as and when they had the plastic. And President John Dramani Mahama ensured that regularly, every 2 months, those on leave would get their money, and even increased the amount of money. And not only that, we adopted a comprehensive approach. So in addition to the poorest of the poor receiving money at the end of every 2 months, they also receive free national health insurance. So we made sure under the ministry that most of the leave beneficiaries got free national health insurance, that 11,000 prisoners, for the very first time in the history of Ghana, we registered all prisoners under national health insurance.
Wow.
They have the free national health insurance. We went to all the prisons, Akuse, Tamale, Navrongo, Ankafo, Sekendi, in Sawam, Kufoidia, Kumasi Central. We registered all of them. And then also, we also made sure that with the Ministry of Health 60,000 education scholarship, one major priority was senior high school students who belonged to the LEAP families. They were the ones who received the senior high school education scholarship under the Ministry of Education.
Very well, I'm going to take a short commercial break. When I come back, Vice President Bawumia has constantly repeated on many platforms that the NDC cannot lay hold to a single social intervention policy. I would like you to tell us if that is true or false. We'll be right back.
Hey, Chairman, it be almost 10 minutes, oh. You not talk anything, oh.
The sun is bright today.
Kwe, Chairman, the hell they feel me?
And the weather is cool.
Chairman, why? You be meteorologist.
The sky is looking beautiful.
Ah! Chairman, oh, dabi o feature. See, drink me and let me do the talking. Yes! Drink me!
When you can't do the yobbing, let Frutelli do the talking. Frutelli, all natural fruit juice.
I love Frutelli.
Me too. What on Ima? They feel it or what?
That's all.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
You've come a long way from where you started, and in that time, you've upgraded a lot. But have you upgraded your entertainment? When you upgrade to GoTV Max, everyone gets an upgrade. Football fans can up their game with La Liga and get all new action with the NBA and NFL on a brand new channel, ESPN. The kids will go crazy for the most popular kids shows, and family night is sorted with blockbuster movies on TNT. Plus, our local celebrities will keep you connected to your continent, while our general entertainment channels will take you international. There's a whole lot for the whole family when you upgrade to GoTV Max. So make the move today and give your family an upgrade they'll love. GoTV, live it, love it.
Thank you very much for your time and welcome back. My guest in the studio is Nana Oye. Bamfo Ado.
Yes.
Bamford.
Bampo.
Bampo Ado.
Yes, Bampo
Okay.
Ado.
So I just am thinking, why would the Vice President make such comments every now and then after everything that you have told us here this evening?
The Vice President, Bawumia, is not speaking the truth. He's making false representations and saying that which does not exist. Factual inaccuracies for political benefit. Unfortunately, the records are there. The facts show who introduced social protection interventions, who created the social protection system, and the most important of all, which government, the NDC, that is the NDC, ensured that there was equal opportunity and that the poorest of the poor, the vulnerable who earn under $1, actually benefit. We can look at LEAP. We can even look at national health insurance. It was started on pilot basis under under NDC, Bookman, Emisa, and co. It was started on pilot basis in certain districts before it was rolled out. We also look at LEAP. It existed in certain forms and then it was expanded under NDC. We look at the educational sector. We have the textbook, the textbook, the 3 textbooks per pupil, that whole program. It is a social intervention. And then we even have the elimination of schools under trees. That is also a social intervention, even determining the deprived districts under the Ministry of Education so that they would receive like a really big push for educational amenities, schools, and what have you. That is a social intervention in education. The NDC government has been very strategic in ensuring that social protection interventions are introduced and they resonate and they are relevant and we have the beneficiaries. So we looked at various demographic and social groups and we used evidence. We have the poverty profile of Ghana that comes up. That's the statistical service brings it up. Now we have the urban elderly welfare card. So that caters for the elderly because under 10% of them benefit from pensions because we have over 70% or so in the informal sector.
Very well.
So the market woman goes on pension if she doesn't have children or her children are unemployed, like most youth are unemployed now, she's not going to be able to get any money to feed. So the NDC government looked at the elderly and created a social protection mechanism, that is the urban elderly welfare card, where the elderly get free bus rides on government public services, on STC, on the Metro Mass, and what have you. Ayalolo. Free. They go to the bank, they get priority. They go to hospitals, they get priority. That is a social protection intervention. The NDC was again strategic in LEAP, where for the northern part of Ghana, we realized that the kwashiorkor was still persistent and children were malnourished. So we made sure that we expanded LEAP, we call it LEAP 1000. Upper East and the other, and North and Upper West at that time, we ensured that pregnant women with children under 2 years also receive LEAP. Also to increase and improve the nutritional status or the nutrition that the family, she and her family, especially the small child would get. Because you know when they have iodine deficiency, it even stunts, they have stunted growth. Then the NDC also looked at the young men and women, vulnerable, kayaye, truck pushers, and we provided a social protection intervention that is skills, training, and development, and jobs. skill training, development, and jobs. They did masonry, they did catering, they did typing, drivers. So the trotro mates now became that, and we tailored it to suit their purposes. So for the kaya and all that, they came to do their training after 12 o'clock so that they could also go and do some work and then come. We even used Metromass to bring them from Ashaman and also from Malata. Then we have the emergency leave. That is also a social protection intervention that the NDC provided. So we can go on and on and on. But we were strategic. For instance, with the school feeding, we introduced health and education. So all the school feeding children, beneficiaries, were also registered on National Health Insurance Free. So Dr. Bawumia, unfortunately, unless he didn't read the notes or he hasn't really monitored and he hasn't really gone around and he's not speaking the truth, unfortunately, as a vice president, it's very regrettable that he would not. Of course, he's doing politics, but he has to do clean politics and stick to the facts. These are just a few of the social protection interventions that the NDC introduced.
Now let's talk about...
let me even talk about one. Another group, the children. You know, you see a lot of children wiping our screen, our car. So it was the bring back to school. So Department of Social Welfare also had a social protection program, like a safety net, where we got the children, took them, those who could go back to their parents, we got them reunited with their parents, supervised them. Those that could not go, we placed them, and that was for street children, young street. So
are you able to move them off the streets?
Yes,
because now we are seeing more.
Because they have suspended all these programs.
Oh, okay. It's not running anymore.
Have suspended all these programs, and that is why we have all the children.
Now let's talk about social protection, gender and social inclusion in the People's Manifesto. The next NDC administration has promised to pass into law a couple of bills, and the Affirmative Action Bill, Social Protection Bill, Aged Persons Bill, School Feeding Bill. Exactly what do we do? So what did you do in the last administration with regards to these bills, and why do you think that is important to pass it now into law, and how do you think that it will impact on society?
The NDC party is very sensitive and is very people-oriented. We seek to achieve results that resonates, that actually benefit the people. Unlike the MPP, who are populist in nature and who just run certain programs just for political purposes without even thinking through strategically. We are strategic, and when we run out a program, you're sure that it will benefit Ama on the street and it will benefit Kojo on the farm. And so what we met was no structure to roll out some of the social protection and other interventions. So President John Dramani Mahama first strengthened and created a policy framework and ensured that we had sustained financing, funding for our key social protection policies, for our key social protection programs. So John Dramani Mahama came up with a social protection policy. There was none. If Bawumia claims that MPP came up with social protection, where is a policy? The first key thing you look for is a policy. There was none. John Dramani Mahama came up with a social protection policy, with a child and family welfare policy, with a gender policy, and a school feeding policy for these key social protection areas. Then John Dramani Mahama came up with a law, with a bill. So before we left government, we had a school feeding bill, we had a social protection bill, and because of we lost power, it lapsed. We had an affirmative action bill, and so In our People's Manifesto, we have committed to the people of Ghana that we will come up with an affirmative action bill, with a social protection bill, and with a bill for the aged. Now we have thousands of aged people above 60 years because now we live long in Ghana. So we need to have, for instance, medical doctors, geriatric. We need to come up with a geriatric training. We have to come up with doctors. We have to come up with nurses, and even home care. Now, because we don't have old people's homes, and so we need to train nurses. We need to train the young people to be able to look after our old persons in the twilight of their lives. So we're coming up with this legal framework. In addition to that, we are coming up with the operational first resources. It was John Dramani Mahama between 2013 and 2016 ensured that LEAP had dedicated funds that every 2 months. And so we were able to do an adjustment. And we are going to ensure sustained financing because now the donors are withdrawing their monies. In addition to that, we are going to ensure the operational, the National Apprenticeship Program. We are going to ensure pensions for the informal sector, for the taxi driver out there, for the carpenter out there, for the trotro mate out there, for the steel bender out there, and the market woman, the hairdresser, those who work in the saloons, the informal sector. We are going to ensure that government supports a pension scheme for all the informal. Something exists now, it is part of the law, but we're going to make it operational and more effective because I was just reading something, under 7% of them are on pension. So when you look at our manifesto, we also have provisions for persons with disability. For persons with disability, we need to have government providing services for persons with disability.
What kind of service?
The first is the resources. John Dramani Mahama, 2013 to 2016, increased the common fund for persons with disability. We listened to the persons with disability. They submitted a memo directly to President John Dramani Mahama, and what they said was that, yes, we are entitled to a portion, a percentage of the common fund, but when it gets to the district assemblies, we do not get our money. We want to be in charge of our money in partnership with the district assembly. So the NDC is saying that we're going to create a trust fund and we're going to make the persons with disability members of that so that they also take that decision on how their monies will be disbursed. We started looking at disability desks at the district assembly. We will continue, NDC will continue. So at every municipality, every district assembly will have a disability desk that will be solely catering for the needs of persons with disability. We're looking at inclusion, education. We're looking at inclusion even for sports. This is what they want. We're looking at equal opportunity. We're looking at respecting persons with disability, and we're looking at preserving the dignity of persons with disability. So when the population census is being conducted next year, we'll have a special census for persons with disability so that we know the numbers, we know the groups, we know their peculiarities, so that government better responds to their needs.
I saw something on the establishment of an emergency response LEAP grant program, and I was a bit lost on that.
We had COVID, and we didn't have a plan in terms of distribution, in terms of a mechanism to determine who was most at need, even in terms of an office or a place where people could go to when they needed information or even when they needed assistance. So on permanent basis, the NDC government has proposed in our People's Manifesto that we're going to create that mechanism, and it will be we have adopted a multi-sectorial approach. So it would be NADMO, because NADMO provide humanitarian services. It would also be the local government and also national security, and then the Ministry of Gender coming together to provide emergency. We saw what happened when Burkina, they opened the Bagri Dam, and then there were floods. We saw what happens when there's a fire or disaster, and we need to be able to have that mechanism. It apart from NADMO providing humanitarian support, other sectors also need to help. So the NDC government, in our People's Manifesto for our next government, we're going to create that mechanism, is all supporting and helping and assisting those most in need because of our social democratic principles and ideals as a party.
On page 77, I saw something about Coastal Livelihood Empowerment Program. And what is that about?
Like I said before, we realize that poverty is increasing. If you look at the poverty, the round 7, the poverty profile of Ghana, you'd realize that the central region, for instance, is now amongst the top 5 poor regions in Ghana. And then because of the loss of livelihood and then the high unemployment rates along the coast, we thought it wise to have a special empowerment program. So it's going to not only be humanitarian support, but job opportunities, creating job opportunities. For instance, we're looking at the urban, if you look at the Zongo section, we're looking at the urban poor settlements, human settlements. So even collecting of rubbish, garbage, creating job opportunities through that, creating job opportunities in terms of even agriculture along the coastal, creating job opportunities in terms of how do we use the sea, like what sort of resource, if the fishing stock is dwindling, what other alternatives are there for the coastal communities. If you remember, we even have child trafficking occurring in our coastal communities. And so it is to stop all this. If you look at the figures from the Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit, you realize that sexual violence and other gender-based violence is also increasing in our coastal communities. So it's all to strengthen the coastal communities and then reduce poverty and then ensure that the families are able to provide, the breadwinners are able to provide for their families.
Okay, so apart from the LEAP, do you have any other plans and policies for the aged?
For the aged, we've talked about pension. For the aged too, we're looking at daycare centers. And I always...
for the aged?
Yes, daycare centers. I always mention the Aya Center. Honorable Kofi Amabwa, Elembele, Elembele has come up with a magnificent, Aya daycare center for the elderly in Elembele, and this we are going to replicate in other regions in Ghana. During our tenure, for instance, the Keta, some of the chiefs in Keta donated, said we have available land, would like you to come and build a daycare center. It's a place where the elderly can go. For instance, for the Aya Center, they get health care. And they are also able to engage with their fellow elderly people. They play games. And the beauty of what NDC, the model NDC is going to build, would be that young people, there will also be sports activities, facilities. So young people can also come. And then we have that intergenerational mix. So the elderly people, maybe some can even help the young people with their schoolwork and homework and all of that. So this is what we're looking at for the elderly. And of course, for the elderly women and vulnerable women in the north who are subjected to lynching and accusations of witchcraft, we have a special program where we're going to educate and sensitize the communities, especially the youth groups in the north, to prevent them from lynching and accusing elderly women. So we do have a lot of programs tailored for the elderly and in our people's
inequalities in our zongos.
And then also the national health insurance. We're going to make sure that all the elderly are able, once you're 60 years, page 80, once you're 60 years, you get free national health insurance registration. And we'll continue with the urban elderly welfare card.
And then I wanted us to talk about the zongos.
Yes, the zongos, yes. Very, very interesting. We are looking at the welfare, the well-being, and empowerment and equal opportunities for the zongos and deprived urban settlements because of basically the historical inequalities. And here also there was a lot of engagement with the Zongo communities. The Zongo communities set up a committee, a group, and they discussed their welfare and what they wanted to see in the manifesto extensively. And they also had discussions with the flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, and the manifesto committee. And so this is what you see on page 82, page 83, and 84 is a consensus document, well discussed, thought out, and the participatory approach. Now, what are we going to do? First, we're going to ensure regular funding for through the District Assembly Common Fund, because you can't do anything. So we had to be innovative. And so we said that first, if we're going to even succeed in our policy proposals for the Zongos, we need to get funding. And we're going to get that from the District Assembly Common Fund. And we are also prioritizing education in the Zongos and the urban settlements. So we're going to resource the Islamic Education Unit under the Ghana Health Service and also create and establish 2 Islamic senior high schools and also support the Islamic colleges of education and award scholarships. So that is for education. The Zongo community said they wanted recycling plants because, like I talked about the rubbish and the garbage and all that. So for employment, they wanted the recycling plants. That would help in terms of climate change and all that. And then also we have the Suyaya Fund.
We are ending on the Suyaya Fund.
The Suyaya Fund. And also supporting Hajj.
In 40 days, Ghanaians are going to the poll. Yes. Why would you vote for President John Dramani Mahama?
We're asking Ghanaians to vote for President John Dramani Mahama because I trust him. Obuobia, you trust him. All Ghanaians trust him to deliver on a responsible, attentive government that will roll out policies that will benefit Ghanaians, that will create equal opportunities, that will ensure Ghanaians prosper and create jobs for the youth and the people of Ghana. Vote NDC, vote for jobs and prosperity for all. This is a People's Manifesto that will be implemented by John Dramani Mahama, flag bearer of the NDC. Eyezu.
And I trust John Mahama. Nanoye Bampoado is the former Minister for Gender and sectorial spokesperson on gender. You have heard it all. By far, the NDC has done way better in implementing best policies for social inclusion than any other political party in the Fourth Republic. After 4 solid years of failed leadership from the Nanado-led government, we have just 40 days until election day to make a decision to put Ghana back on the road of progress and leadership. In 40 days, you and I can choose a leadership that cares about the development of all and not just a few family and friends, including cronies. Yes, you and I can give this country the change we need. The rescue mission is a communal labor. We can't afford to fail the masses. It's number 2 on the ballot for John Dramani Mahama on December 7th. Thanks for watching. This is where we end tonight's edition. Be good and stay blessed. My name is Obuobia Darko-Opoku, ably produced by Yaya Koku and Abna Babu. Have a good night.
Good legacies never die. Championing the hopes of the next chapter of our nation's development is a man who needs no introduction. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. 4 years of the Mahama-led administration completed several projects in the areas of infrastructure, energy, health, agriculture, education, amongst others. These resulted in a massive boost in the country's economy. Amidst the gloom, there is hope. 7 December presents us another opportunity to get Ghana working again by voting John Dramani Mahama back into office as president to rescue the people of Ghana. His government will steer Ghana back to glory.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the Nation Builder.
John Mahama waya 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 John Mahama tuchikoko Toboy Toboy John Mahama waya 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 waya
A nation builder is one with vision, a planner and a master tactician. Here's a man with a team that understands that the implementation of free senior higher education, for example, requires adequate infrastructure in order not to destabilize an already working quality educational system. This is a man with a team that negotiates deals in a holistic manner, like the Tema Port Expansion Project that concluded with the construction of the Tema Motorway Interchange for ease of transport of goods. This is a nation builder, one who makes judicious use of resources at his disposal. There are several infrastructure projects in various sectors of the economy accounted for under John Mahama's 4 years of governance. This nation builder is trustworthy, one who is faithful to his promise. John Mahama promised to end Dumso, and truly he did, leaving the nation with excess megawatts of power at the end of his first term in office. This nation builder is a unifier. John Mahama's leadership transcends ethnicity, family, and friends, one whose message resonates with the upper class right through to the grassroots of our society. Same can be said about his communication prowess. It's unrivaled. This year's elections will be about track record. Second is trust. The writings are clear on the wall. The records never lie. Fellow Ghanaians, the choice is ours to make. Fellow Ghanaians, presenting John Dramani Mahama.